we live and work. We respect their historical and continual connections to country and community, and pay our respects to elders past and present. So thank you everybody for coming today. I firstly want to acknowledge that the last few months have been incredibly challenging for everyone in the organisation. Through the relocation, through the stage 1 structure, through the extended relocation, there's been certainly a lot happening, and certainly with growing discussion around the traps about potential redundancies that may be upcoming. I had a teleconference with my fellow CEOs before. We are not alone in this endeavour. And I'll touch a bit later of what the discussions we're having with the department about all of our funding situations are. But yes, rest assured, apart from the office relocations, we are not alone in this issue. What we do know, and what we've known for some time, is that EPC must transition to a more financially sustainable operating model. I've talked before around how salaries and wages are the biggest component of our operating costs, and they're currently sitting at about 84% of our operating costs in total across the board. For us to get to a more sustainable model, we've got to get them below 79%, and that's just a fact. We know we must transition to that model, and I've been directed by the board that over the next few years we've got to get EPC there. Early modelling indicates, though, that to get down to 79%, this work is likely to result in a reduction of between 5 and 7 full-time equivalent positions. That doesn't mean they're all going to be full-time equivalent positions, because we don't have many of those, but that's talking about the total FTE, not the number of heads. No final decisions have been made at this time, and we're certainly putting Dion under the pump since his return from leave to help us out with that cost modelling. As I've talked about, stage 2 is focused the next few months on achieving genuine, financially sustainable savings while maintaining the high quality care that we provide for our clients and carers. We aim to share a detailed proposal with you, hopefully around the 3 to 4 week mark. This is being impacted by the extended building works that are happening, because wherever possible we want to do this stuff face by face. This is not ideal doing it remotely at all. But I just want to reinforce to everybody, until we have that plan and until the decisions have been made and signed off by the board, it's business as usual. We need our continued performance management, annual performance plans happening. We need the move happening and the seating arrangements. We need our annual leave, requirements still to continue, new staff coming on board to fill some of our vacancies. It's really important that it's business as usual, and that our clients and carers continue to receive the high quality care that they always do from EPC, and that we are all very proud of as such. So at the same time, there's a series of meetings happening with the Department of Health commencing next week, talking about the Deloitte's report that I've previously said the department has undertaken, and the own report that the community palliative care providers commissioned on their own. And those results, some of which I shared with you at our last town hall. So we'll be talking to the department about the unsustainability of their current funding arrangements, and what is that going to mean for our clients, but also the impact of people turning up at hospital instead if they can't receive a community palliative care service. So that advocacy is happening. Palliative Care Victoria has an election plan well underway. They'll be sharing that with us shortly, so that we can continue to advocate that we are a very, even with our overspends, are a very economical alternative for our clients and our community, rather than being in hospital to die when that's not their option as such. We look forward, can I say, to the next stage after stage 2, to being one of stability and consolidation. And I think we'll all welcome that. It doesn't mean nothing will be happening, but it certainly won't be as disruptive as this current and last 6 months have been. So I'm happy to open it up for questions now from the floor. Comments, please. Any hands up? I can't see. Can you see any? Yes, Pauline. Good old Pauline. Rely on your questions, Pauline.
There we go. Thank you. Never want to be sick. I'm just curious in terms of, given that there's obviously a funding hole, and we've got a new fundraising person on board, do we have, is there a plan for a fundraising amount, a goal? What is that? What does that plan look like? So that's the first question. And now I've forgotten my second question, so I'll remember that, and it'll be a second one. So yeah. So okay. Just, is there, in terms of, is there a goal in terms of what that's going to look like and what that's hoped to raise?
Yes, certainly. So the strategy, and Louise might be on board and able to talk to this herself. But again, I'll just reiterate, the fundraising investment has been from our savings, and that's what the board have decided to invest in our fundraising as an alternative source of revenue. We are certainly looking at, I think it's about 1.5 million, correct me if I'm wrong, Louise, within 3 years. Yeah, 1.5 million within 3 years. Louise has developed up a very ambitious strategy that she presented to the public relations and fundraising meeting on Tuesday, which was really well received. Now I'll flag, what there may be extra resourcing that the board needs to invest in from our savings, not from our operational funding. So it's a completely separate bucket of money to help us achieve that. But it's certainly the view that the fundraising team need to be, paying for themselves within a fairly short amount of time. So hopefully that answers that, Pauline. Did you remember your second part of the question?
No, she's giving you the thumbs up. Sorry, it's Tanya here, Gaylene.
Yep.
Where are we? I just want to note, we've got a comment in here, and so true. It's very concerning to think that 5 to 7 full-time equivalents will be going when we're already working so hard to meet the needs of our clients and families. Less staff and more stress, but growing need. Very much the sentiments shared with the department, and certainly in advocacy efforts. But sorry, Gaylene.
And I think, yes, certainly. And, it's a bigger question that comes up when, as I've shared before, we're contracted to provide around 2,600 episodes of care per year. We're providing over 3,000. And we're on track for it to be, I think, around 2,800 this year based on our 6 months results. So a bigger question, and one I'm talking with the other CEOs about, is who do we say no to and when do we say no? If the department at the end of the day is only going to purchase so many episodes from each of the palliative care providers, we've got, it's a whole ethical dilemma of who do we say no to? Do we tighten our referral criteria more? It's just, and how do we not make, our current staff pick up more and do more? Absolutely, Kirsty, that's certainly, part of the review that we're doing is looking at, okay, what resources are going where and where do they best, be placed to meet the growing community need, and we don't have that answer yet. Sam, to your question, can I clarify when further redundancies be confirmed? Is there a timeline? Yes, so once we come back later in the month, early March, we will have a plan about and what that looks like, and, you know, who will be impacted. So, you know, we're thinking probably around 4 weeks. How will EPC keep us sane? Happy to take suggestions. Thanks. Kirsty, please put ideas in there. It's a bit like that for every one of us, trust us. But we certainly are looking at having a party when we finally do all get together in the one building, and we welcome over as well. It's going to be one hell of a party. Pauline, so hopefully I've sort of talked about that. That's an ongoing body of work as to how, you know, we can work more effectively to meet the need. And, you know, what does that look like? And you guys will have, you know, solutions around that as well. So that's where we really need your ideas of what we could do, doing more efficiently as well.
Sorry, Gaylene, Jody Nemo has her hand up.
Sorry, Jody. Yep.
That's
I've
okay.
got two
Thanks,
screens
Gaylene.
here, so I can't see.
Sorry, and perhaps you've already answered this. I guess it was a question around beyond the redundancies. What will the model of how we're going to do this look like? I can hear you saying you don't know yet, perhaps, and I guess, yeah, the thought of fewer people doing more and what, you know, how is that going to be manageable? But I guess, you know, all that's to be worked out probably.
And look, you know, one thing I will say to that, Jody, with our value-based healthcare principles, you know, one of the principles is about making sure those who need the care the most get it. So, you know, some of the things we've got to look at is, you know, is everybody getting everything? And we've been down this road before about, you know, do they get everything, but do they need everything? And some clients will have particular needs, and other clients may have other needs that don't need our full comprehensive service. So how do we tailor it to be more individual, more patient-centred, but make sure absolutely everything we continue to provide continues to be high value? But that's a work in progress, yes.
Yep.
Naomi, do we say no to RACF who've received PEPA funding and already have 24/7? Sounds ruthless, but dollars are going there. Thank you, Naomi. Look, we're certainly looking at aged care, and I had a discussion yesterday about, yes, there's a lot of, you know, with the requirement now for residential aged care facilities to have a 24/7 RN. You know, what does that mean? How is that impacting? You know, we have less referrals from aged care at the moment. That might be one of the reasons to it. So I think looking at our aged care model is certainly something we need to look at, and, you know, is continuing that consult rather than the more intensive care model is probably the way to go. Yeah. Absolutely share that concern, Kirsty. We do spend a lot of time worrying about the morale across the organisation because there is a lot of unknown, and staff will leave for other jobs. Yes, that is a concern that keeps me awake at night. I think it's just a really challenging, and I, you know, completely respect people's own situations where they decide they can't live with that uncertainty, or they need to be guaranteed a job and so they need to leave. I wish I could change it. I just can't. So, you know, I'm asking everyone to hang in there for as long as possible. Yeah, it is a real challenge. It's not what we want. Other comments or questions, please feel free. Ask whatever you need. Any hands up anyone can see that I can't?
No. I imagine more questions will come, Gaylene, once we have a better understanding of the picture, like once we're able to actually talk through the proposal and talk through where we're at.
And look, we'll put you know, another issues log. I've just had this brainwave of up on the internet, so you can put your intranet, so you can put your questions or talk to your manager who can, you know, raise it with us to answer any questions or concerns or queries. We want to know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, how we can help through this really unsettling time, and we know it is unsettling, so tell us what you need.
Another question in the
If there's
chat.
no further questions. Oh, yeah. redundancies or clinical staff, we don't know. We haven't made a decision. It is likely to be across the organisation though, Nikki. We're reviewing every department and looking at the resourcing there. And, you know, a lot of ties in with our digitalisation work that's happening as well. But the decisions have not been made as yet. But we're not particularly targeting particular areas. Anything else? I might hand over then to Dion while you think about any other questions, who's just going to give us an update about these interminable building works that are happening. Thanks, Dion.
Thanks, Gaylene. Look, I'm not sure whether it's good news or what. However, these are where we're at. The air conditioning units have basically been completed for Building 1. And what it means is on Monday, the 16th of February, all the staff members for Building 1 and the corporate office side will be able to go back to the office. This week they're just checking to make sure all the air conditioning units are working the way they need to. However, for Building 2, and what I will say for Building 1, it was a lot of challenges on the way the building's been built, and unfortunately until they started to replace the units they didn't realise some of the challenges there. So for Building 2, Building 1 had 4 air conditioning units, Building 2 has 8. What we've been told at this stage is we would hope by mid-March to late March that staff will be able to go back to Building 2. I don't really want to give you a date because I've given you so many dates now that have not been met. And I feel as though my wallet is going to get bigger as I'm going to have to shout your coffees or whatever I end up shouting you. But anyway, at this stage, Building 2 is probably mid to late March before you can come back. If we look at the training room, that's out of action until Building 2 staff can come back. And even if we look at 2 of the training rooms, it's no furniture there, so it's no chairs, no tables. So if people did want meetings there, you'd have to bring your own chairs in to have those types of meetings. So at this stage, the recommendation is there won't be any meetings being held in those rooms until we're all back in both Building 1 and Building 2. So I'm sorry, but look, until some of these works are started, you don't actually know what's in those buildings. And I think it's fair to say they've probably been built to not a great standard, as many of you will know with the problems we're having at the moment. Just one other thing, and is that Crystal did send an email out, I think it was yesterday. We're just looking for some staff to help us make sure we select the right things to cover acoustics and that. And I just want to make sure we've got representation from particularly the nursing and allied health staff. So at this stage, we don't have anyone there. So if anyone's keen, and I know you've got so much going on at the moment, but I'd love to just get your involvement to make sure you can understand how we end up making decisions and the rationale, and just important that we have all staff input. So if we could get some volunteers to do that, you know, that would be greatly appreciated. So look, that's where we are now. It's not certainly what we had hoped, but we can't change it, and more than happy to take any questions. We'll send out an email later on today just to put all of this in writing as well.
Thanks, Don. Any questions, feedback, comments?
A couple of extra questions in the chat.
But anything for Dion? Jodie?
So, Dion, are we engaging people who have expertise in the acoustic space? I'm just thinking, I'm not trying to be facetious, but some staff members coming down and is not going to be representative of a whole office full of people. So how do we, how can people come down and sort of meaningfully contribute to questions around acoustics?
Absolutely, we are using experts, companies that their expertise is in acoustics. I think it's more we want to get the engagement of staff because there's so many different options we can look at, and we can make those decisions in the corporate office. My view is I think staff should also have a say of what acoustics we decide to go with and understand the rationale. And I think everyone will be able to have a contribution in some way. And it may be that, we're looking at options A and B, and we want some of the staff to go back and just talk it over, with their staff members to say, well, if we do this, would it actually work better this way or that way? And, that's what I'm trying to achieve, Jodie, just to ensure we get as much input as we can. And rather than do all of this and then get some feedback later on, well, did you consider A, B and C? And I think if we have some staff members seeing how we've got to the end point, then at least we've got a better understanding of the rationale for whatever we end up with the acoustics, particularly in building 2.
Yeah,
I hope
that's
that
fine.
makes sense what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
Hopefully that answers your question as well, Cindy. That's where we're looking at the acoustics and the placing as well. But let me know if it doesn't. I'll just go back. Isn't our core clinical? Yes, Louise, it absolutely is our core clinical business, core business. But how we do it and the ways we do it and the way we carry it out is what we're reviewing to see how we can do it within the funding bucket that we have. And also to say, I know the clinical teams may not believe it, but our corporate services, is a very, very lean team. We basically have, apart from the admin team, we have one of everybody. So it is a very lean team, but we are absolutely reviewing that as well. Amanda, have you considered holding off on filling current job vacancies until the staffing requirements are better known? Yes, that has been happening over recent months already. There have been ads going out for vital positions that we do need to recruit to, but there have been other positions where we've held off and used bank staff in short-term contracts and everything to get over that while we do this work. So hopefully that answers that. Annabelle, regarding redundancies, are you able to say if they will likely be voluntary or not? I can't say at this stage, Annabelle. We're working that up as to what might be possible in that area, but it's too early to say. Sorry. Other questions? Comments? I don't see any hands.
No hands.
No hands. Okay. If there's nothing else, we'll leave it there. Again, sorry, Eunice.
Sorry, I'm on the desk and I was on a call, so I might have missed it if you already said it. But are nursing staff also going to lose jobs?
So we don't have an answer for that, Eunice. We're looking at, as I said, all departments within the organisation and how we can work within our funding bucket and making sure we are utilising everybody to the best of their ability and the top of their scope of practice. So that's all I can say at the moment. I'm sorry. Anything else? Nikki. Nikki?
I think you're on mute, Nikki.
Oh, there. Are you aware that we're running most short-staffed in nursing? And look, that's something we're absolutely monitoring. Our referrals have been down, but we're trying to understand what does that mean in terms of everyday, workloads of our staff. So, you know, Karen certainly does a lot to monitor that. So, yeah, it's that challenge of, you know, the referrals are coming in, the episodes above what we're contracted for. But, you know, how do we afford to fund what we're providing if it's above what the contract is saying we need to do? Yeah. Thanks, Kirsty. Take that as noted. Yep. So comment from Naomi, most days starting early and finishing late too. And that's something we, you know, are really, really keen to address. And certainly as part of the digitalisation strategy, you know, I'm not sure if you've heard, we're talking about AI Scribe and how that can help the clinicians take their notes a lot quicker and complete their documentation so they get out of the door at 5 o'clock. We're just delaying some of that till we get through this stage, but that's certainly a priority moving forward in the next financial year, is to get some of these technology enablers. They're not going to replace the clinical decision making. They're not going to replace you signing off on what you put into your notes, but if it can make it happen a lot quicker and improve any errors, you know, then there's that sort of technology that is out there that is being used widely in healthcare now. My own specialist uses it, and that's, you know, we're preempting that will have a great benefit for clinicians who, you know, spend a lot of time on documentation. Jodie, could you tell us what the process will look like when final decisions are made to be communicated? Yes, so we've got very strict guidelines within our EBAs that we will follow as we usually do. So that will inform the process that is taken at the time. But we want to come all together and paint the picture of what it looks like as a group, certainly. Nikki, you still got your hand up, but I presume that was your question. Anything else? Okay. Thank you, everybody. I know it's not great news. I know it's awful to hear it and to, you know, for the team to be in this situation, but we are together. Please support each other. Please seek support from your managers, and anywhere, you know, we can help. Please keep us informed with your ideas and suggestions and queries as well. So, you know, we want you to be hearing the truth from us. It's more effective than, you know, rumours and I heard this and I heard that. So if you're hearing stuff, please clarify it rather than losing sleep over it. That'd be much appreciated. Take care and have a good weekend when it finally gets here. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.